The October 7th, 2021 regular board meeting of the City Colleges of Chicago is now called to order. Please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Will the chief advisor please call the roll?
Chair Massey,
Here.
Trustee Swanson,
Here.
Trustee Davis,
Here.
Trustee Kent,
Here.
Trustee Williams,
Here.
Trustee Lopez,
Here.
Trustee Tillman,
Here.
Trustee Fazel Holt.
Here.
Thank you. Let the record show that in accordance with the Illinois Public Community College Act and the Illinois Open Meetings Act, we have a quorum. So, welcome everyone. This is our third in-person meeting since the start of the pandemic, and I'm very pleased to see everyone who is here. First, I'd like to congratulate Vice Chair Swanson, Secretary Davis, and Trustee Lopez on their reappointment to the board, and to thank them for their continuing service, and to thank the mayor and the city council for nominating them again and for their approval. And also, I want to thank President Lopez for hosting our meeting and for joining us today. Before we get fully underway, I will note for the record that Trustee Lopez and Trustee Tillman are participating by phone today, and this is allowable under our board bylaws, specifically Article 1.5.3, Sections A to C, which says, provided there's a quorum in the room, trustees may participate by phone. As the chief advisor has just noted, we do have a quorum today. I would also like to congratulate Chancellor Salgado and his team on the success of the Fresh Start debt forgiveness program and on all the efforts they put into place to comply with the governor's executive order 87. We heard a very complete report on that in our finance committee meeting earlier today, and Trustee Williams will speak about that in his committee report later. I'd now like to welcome Trustee Fazel Holt to give the student trustee report.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to begin by expressing my appreciation to our SGA and DSGA advisors for assisting the SGA presidents in this leadership journey, and the student leaders who have hit the ground running and taken steps to safeguard a great start to the 2021 to 2022 academic year. With that being said, I'd like to begin my October report. Malcolm X SGA Executive Report. The Malcolm X SGA currently has 3 executive members. These include the president, vice president, and trustee, and treasurer. We are looking at applications to fill the position of the secretary. The SGA currently has 5 active clubs, and we are looking to add more clubs and increase student engagements in these established clubs. The executive team and the Office of Student Activities worked together and successfully completed a swag bag giveaway, outdoor day party, voter registration drive, vendor card processing, and distribution. And we are currently hosting events as it pertains to Hispanic Heritage Month. In the coming months, we would be hosting events for Halloween, domestic violence awareness, midterm exams, and Thanksgiving. Olive Harvey College mission statement: developing the diverse environment of cultural and civic leaders and have excellence in academia, learning, support services, as well as student involvement. Team accomplishment: general meeting on Tuesdays over Zoom at 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Voted for computers for SBA, Chroma Art, and PTK, Spirit Week, and HHM. National Museum of Mexican Art on October 1st at 10 a.m. to 12:45 p.m. Lunch will be provided by SGA. Hispanic Heritage Month trivia game with SGA on October 5th at 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. Location Zoom. Salsa lesson with Latin street dancer on October 7th. Location Olive Harvey College foyer, 10001 South Woodlawn Avenue. Time 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Spirit Week, October 25th to October 30th. Monday, Purple Day. Tuesday, Dress to Impress. Wednesday, Prep Rally. Thursday, Throwback Thursday. Friday, Homecoming, Sneaker Ball, and Saturday, Six Flags Fried Feast. Daily College SGA events and collaboration. Hispanic Heritage Month event continued. We are very proud of the community Fiesta event. We had a AVI on Saturday, September 25th. Upcoming events include Tangush Market Days on October 6th at Daly College in the main lobby. Paint and chip events in person on October 12th at 12:30. Virtual events coming soon. Date and time TVA. A skull cookie decorating party on October 14th at 12 noon at both Daly and ABI campus. In October, for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Pretty in Pink Wednesdays, every Wednesday in April, creating ribbons available for students and staff to decorate in memory or in honor to be posted in cafeteria wall. Yeah, it's Pizza Day. October 11th, student will be treated to a free slice of pizza. Kennedy King College, Mission Fall 2021. Kennedy King Student Government Association's goal is to create a social environment for students, including in-person and Zoom activities. All activities follow up to date COVID-19 safety guidelines. Activities provide introverted and extroverted students to participate in social activities. Upcoming events for October 1st, Pantry remodel for November food drive. October 4th, student town hall meet. October 14th, drive to Coco movie presentation. Food tutorials from Chef Gabriel Alvarez. October 19th, Halloween event. Costume party gift card will be provided for the first, second, and third player. Past event, August 30th to September 2nd, meet and greet. September 2nd, Unity Day. September 16th, partnership discussion with Malcolm X Community College. September 23rd, SGM meet, partnership with Gabriel Alvarez and Candora Torres for Coco premiere on October 14th. We'll continue increasing student club and providing monthly surveys to voice their concerns and identify what SGA can do to make their Kennedy King College experience rememberable. Ulver Wright College mission. The 2021 to 2022 Wright College Student Government Association's mission is to advocate for and empower students by fostering community engagement and improving accessibility to resources while strengthening the collective student voice. Advocacy. Wright SGA consists of 8 entirely student-led committees. These include diversity and inclusion, right tracks, transfer and alumni relationship, health and awareness, civic engagement, student affairs, campus activities board, public relations, and finance. Our application inclusivity reform is an initiative that our diversity and inclusion committee started. Last year, all 7 college SGAs unanimously voted for this change, agreeing with the CCC's application being discriminatory, not following CCC's mission, and needing immediate reform. CCC's application remains unchanged. This year, advocating for this student-led initiative is a priority. SGA President Corey Castle was elected onto IBHE's Board of Trustees as the non-traditional student board member. Activities. Board members, please join our Hispanic Heritage Month closing block party, Unidos Celebramos with ballet, salsa, and bomba. Bring your dancing shoes. Story. Wright College may be known as the Center of Excellence of Engineering and Computer Science, but it might be that we are also a center of the creative arts and writing. Our wonderful students produce the Right Side magazine. It is a finalist for the most distinguished award in college media for a literary magazine, Pinnacle Award. In the words of the editor-in-chief, Emmanuel Ali, maybe because the vastness in the in the city of Chicago, it is easy to forget each person's individual life story. With that being said, please see the link provided and explore our Right Side Student Magazine, see pictures of Wright College SGA Velo, and join as honor guests at our community events. Harold Washington College student engagement. Encouraging student engagement and participation in events is a top goal of SGA 2021. SGA 2021 sent out our first student survey in late September 2021. The survey was used to better understand the interests, needs, and priorities of Harold Washington College students as we continue to plan the 2021 and 2022 academic year. Approximately 150 students responded to the survey, of which approximately 75% noted Harold Washington College as being their home campus. One key takeaway from the survey was that live music, movie nights, and food, grab and goes, were noted as the top events students would see themselves attending this fall. Club revitalization. Revitalizing Harold Washington College Club is a top priority for Harold Washington College SGA 2021 as we enter the fall semester. The virtual club day workshop was conducted during the last week of September 2021. This event was a strong success for SGA. The virtual event saw approximately 60 students attended, and approximately half a dozen clubs speak on what their club had to offer. The majority of the students attended the full event, which included a presentation of clubs at Harold Washington College and information on how to start a club, short speeches by club leaders, and a Q&A session. A number of clubs have taken form over these first several weeks of the fall semester. Active clubs at Harold Washington College in fall 2021 include Creative Writing Club, Black Student Union, Organization of Latinx Student, Pride Alliance Club, Finance Literacy and Investment Club, and Language Exchange Club. Emphasis will continue to be placed in inclusiveness and diversity awareness. Harold Washington's SGA also welcomed 2 new senators in September. Welcome Stephanie Sees and Joel Spitia. SGA Senator Nancy Beria was promoted to the role of SGA Secretary. SGA Secretary Carolina Torres was promoted to the role of SGA Vice President. Major events. SGA 2021 is continuing the work on the Student Lounge project. from last year's SGA Executive Board and Architectural Club. The goal is to create a student-friendly space for the lower basement in Harold Washington College, where a student can have showcase, movie nights, play games, and build camaraderie. The cost of materials for sophisticated AV technology, new furniture, and the performance stages is approximately $93,000. Further, SGA 2021 is pleased to actively working with Lynn Trang Williams of the Harold Washington College Centennial Planning Committee in the funding of a mural at Harold Washington College. The production of the mural is expected to be months-long project, and SGA 2021 is committed to ensuring student involvement and participation in the project. The cost of this project has been estimated at $25,000. SGA 2021 will provide representation both on the Harold Washington Centennial Planning Committee and on the Hispanic Heritage Month Planning Committee. Truman College. As always, we are keeping up with being the most engaged and fun campus of city colleges. Did you get to see our awesome President Jackson rapping in our welcome back video? We tried to tell you one Truman is back and ready for another exciting semester. Check out our social medias to watch members of the Truman community welcome our students to campus if you haven't done so. Here at Truman, things are going well and running. We recently finished with some of our weeks of welcome events. Some of them included True Beach Day, beach cleanup with the Environmental Club, magic shows, Kahoot, and other fun and engaging events. We had the opportunity to connect with the students and improve our sense of community through some online and in-person events. Our events for Latinx Heritage Month events are happening now. These include American mariachi at the Goodman Theater, workshop with the Wellness Center around imposter syndrome and balancing multiple identities, navigating spaces as people of color, a panel discussion with alumni and other members of Latinx community to discuss navigating higher education, and we'll close the month out by hosting our test of Latinx celebration. Here at Truman, we truly believe in celebrating our diversity and the beautiful subcultures that are part of our identity. You all didn't think we forgot. Due to the unfortunate cancellation of the Pride Parade at Truman, we will still celebrate the LGBT community with our True Pride Club that will include swag, a sheep in paint, and a ton of other things. An upcoming code drive event is going to take place soon, which will be co-hosted by our Student Activities Office. Behind the scenes, we are working on planning the next cultural months and holidays celebrations. We are setting up our active clubs for the fall and getting everything ready for our True Fridays. There is hope in our shared humanity when we all come together. We all need to remind ourselves is that we are human first and everything else is learned. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Very much, Trustee Falco. President Jackson for writing this remark. I will now have the report.
Well, let me also thank Trustee Fazil Hope for the leadership that you're providing and the thorough report and just bringing the spirit of the campuses and the students' spirit. Our students are very active in every respect, and that's what we hear. I look forward to meeting with DSGA in the next few weeks and coming back with a report on that meeting. I'm also wanting to share that we are fortunate to have Vice Chair Swanson, Secretary Davis, and Trustee Lopez renewing their terms on the board. I want to thank you all for the deep engagement that helps us be better every day, and as volunteers for your service. I also want to thank the teams who presented at the committee meeting that we held earlier today. In particular, I want to recognize AVC of Administrative Services, David Anthony, AVC of Advising and Student Success, Stephanie Carl, our Chief Talent Officer, Carol Dunning, and for leading our compliance with the state COVID vaccination, with the state vaccination or test mandate. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Thank you, thank you. I will speak in to the microphone. As I said, we have significantly expanded our on-campus COVID testing options. We now offer a third-party COVID testing option. We have also streamlined the way students and employees upload proof of vaccination to their myccc.edu portal. This team was also central to developing a very thoughtful escalation of penalties for non-compliance with the state mandate. Thank you for the work as we continue to follow state and local public health guidelines through this pandemic. Among the items before the board for consideration today is also a new telework policy. I want to thank Provost Potter and General Counsel Gowen and Chief Talent Officer Dunning for developing this policy, which will enhance our ability to deliver on an exceptional student experience. I also want to thank the bargaining teams engaged in the two contracts in front of the board today with CLOC and SEIU. These contracts represent an important investment in our valued adjunct faculty and maintenance personnel and position us for continued success in the future. I'd like to take this moment to thank all of our adjunct faculty and maintenance personnel. Despite all that is going on around us, we continue to make progress supporting students to and through college and creating connections to university, employer, and community partners that offer our students greater opportunity. To that end, today the board will consider a new agreement between Malcolm X College and the University of Illinois at Chicago to allow students to simultaneously pursue an associate's degree in nursing at Malcolm X and earn credits toward a Bachelor of Science in Nursing at UIC via the university's online RN to BSN degree completion program. The team is planning a formal announcement of this relationship in the coming months. Malcolm X has also had tremendous success with grants lately. On the board report alone, Malcolm X posts $10 million in new grants focused on achieving greater equity in the STEM fields and healthcare. I want to congratulate President Sanders, VP Katanya Webb-Walker, and Ann Zalewski, Vice President for Institutional Effectiveness, and the many contributors at the Malcolm X team. These successes are part of City Colleges of Chicago's concerted effort to raise private funds through the City Colleges of Chicago Foundation and public funds through our advancement team. Success like the recent private gifts to Trinity King College and public awards exemplified by Malcolm X today are evidence that this strategy is working, and our investments in the capacity and infrastructure in institutional advancement are paying off for our students. Moving on to Wilbur Wright College has also been recognized for its work in creating STEM equity. Wright Center of Excellence for Engineering and Computer Science has been named one of the 2021 Inspiring STEM Programs in the country by Insight into Diversity magazine. More than 80% of students enrolled in Wright's engineering program are Latinx or Black, 25% are women. This didn't just happen. The team has worked diligently to build a pathway to and through Wright's engineering program with special recognition to the program's leader, Ms. Doris Espiritu. President Potash, we appreciate your support for this program, which is now officially a Wright College Center of Excellence in Engineering and Computer Science. I was here at Harold Washington earlier this week to take part in a new equity and accounting agreement the college and our transfer staff built with Southern Illinois University Carbondale. After completing an associate's degree, City College's students will have a clear path to completion of their bachelor's degree in accounting online from SIU Carbondale without having to leave Chicago. SIU also extended their scholarship for Star Scholars pursuing a bachelor's degree. I want to take this moment to share how the district office leaders work closely with our colleges to realize these agreements. Shelley Lemons, Executive Director for the Office of Student Transitions, is in regular communication with university partners. Shelley is an amazing leader who brings her utmost care for our students to ensure we make the most of any proposed partnership. President Lopez, VP Wang, faculty members in the accountancy disciplines such as Bridget Mahan worked side by side with Shelley to iron out the critical articulations necessary to creating this new valued opportunity for students. This is a 7-strong environment. This is a city colleges looking to bring value to our students at every turn. By the way, speaking of President Lopez, for his career in higher education, Harold Washington College President Daniel Lopez will be honored next month by being inducted into his alma mater's Illinois State University's College of Education's Hall of Fame. So congrats to you, President Lopez. It's not my night. And to round out this month's recognition, I also want to congratulate Daly College President Janine Janowski, who's been named to serve on the U.S. Food and Drug Administration's, the FDA's Medical Devices Dispute Resolution Panel, an advisory committee that makes recommendations to the FDA about highly complex, about highly complex disputes and challenges related to medical devices. President Janowski was appointed based on her expertise in biostatistics. I hope everyone saw the op-ed in Cranes written by Antoinette Smith, an Olive Harvey College graduate in supply chain management. And if you haven't seen that op-ed, I really encourage you to. She encouraged Chicago companies in a very clear and concise way to seek out City College's students for hiring. Antoinette received a scholarship from PepsiCo to fund her studies. She was then hired as an intern by PepsiCo and is now an apprentice on the regional grocery team. Pepsi, through both its local and national foundation, has been a fantastic partner to us, providing City College students with significant scholarships, work-based learning, and hiring opportunities. So as you can see, we have a great deal to be proud of. There's much more to come. Spring registration is in fact coming and fast, and we are currently in pre-registration, but during pre-registration, students can update and confirm their programs in advance of their shopping carts being loaded. We want to encourage our students to get started early. On October 25th, students are going to be able to view class schedules, and what they'll see is a schedule that maintains student choice across modalities similar to the fall semester. Students will find face-to-face classes if that's what they prefer. They will also find online live classes if they want to have a regular faculty interaction that comes with synchronous instruction along with the flexibility of online delivery. And of course, our colleges will continue to offer traditional asynchronous online courses. We will continue to offer programs at no cost to new students via Future Ready this spring. And we will also continue to offer the Fresh Start Debt Forgiveness Program. We'll hear a little bit more about this program today from Vice Chancellor of Institutional Effectiveness, Christian Collins, along with a few students and alum who have benefited. With that, Chair Massey, this concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Salgado. We will now have public participation. So it's now time for public participation. We have 6 requests today. When your name is called, please proceed to the podium here, where you will have up to 3 minutes to make remarks on the subject that you indicated in your communication to the board office, to the chief advisor, that you wanted to speak about. When you've used your 3 minutes of time, please bring your remarks to a close. As you registered, you were reminded of our procedures with regards to the nature of your comments, and I would ask you to respect and adhere to those directions and to the time requirements. So Chief Advisor, please proceed with the list of speakers.
Kathy Powers.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's been a few years since I've been here, and I want to, again, what I said years ago, talk about the core mission of the City Colleges of Chicago: to promote education and lifelong learning for diverse student populations, to overcome socioeconomic inequities. It is undermined by a wide range of administrative policies. We, the stakeholders, the faculty, the students, our families, and allies, call for a renewed commitment to safety in the classroom and quality remote education for us to remain healthy. Reverse the administration policies and practices that ignore CDC guidelines regarding COVID-19 and follow the scrupulous COVID-19 mitigations that your own mechanical program, I never thought a class could be safe. They're doing it, and everybody else should be doing it too. It can be done, you're doing it, and everybody else should be doing it. Juan Salgado pledged to make classrooms follow CDC guidelines regarding social distancing, contact tracing, testing. With 25 plus students in a classroom, you can't do it. It can't be done. If you cannot make this pledge, you put everybody in the schools at risk for infection, and you must step down from your position. Thank you.
Professor Howard Ehrman.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Howard Ehrman. Lots of family members have been CCC students and graduates. I'm the former Assistant Health Commissioner here in Chicago under Mayor Harold Washington and afterwards from 1985 to 1991. I'm here to support all workers, everyone in this building and all the other buildings, to deal with the fact that the guidelines that you have, although improved, and the CDC guidelines are inadequate and dangerous. We are now in the 5th month where every single COVID infection is Delta. That's 2 to 3 times more infectious than the previous infection. That is spread primarily, not secondarily, by people talking and eating up to 30 feet or more, not primarily by people coughing and sneezing. It is a much higher percentage of people who are infected who have absolutely no symptoms, including people who are vaccinated. Those of us who are vaccinated, which I hope is everybody in this room, can carry as much of the virus in our nose, in our throat, in our lungs as somebody who's not vaccinated. We can transmit that virus and infect somebody as easily as someone who is not vaccinated. The difference is we do it for a shorter period of time and we're less likely to get very sick and die. So the question is, what can CCC do about this? It can do what the science says, which unfortunately the CDC has changed. Number one, everyone has to be vaccinated. Fully vaccinated means 2 weeks after your last shot. So 2 weeks after your last Pfizer shot, Moderna shot, Johnson & Johnson. Everybody who's eligible for the third shot should get it, based on age and medical conditions. Number two is the question of air filtration. It is not 1 to 2 times per hour, as the CDC has said. That's absolutely wrong. For over 20 years, it's been 5 to 6 air changes per hour, plus HEPA filtration in this case. 6-foot social distancing, no compromising on that, even though the CDC is compromised completely. Everyone wear a mask, and this is really key. Everyone has to have a test once a week, regardless of vaccination status, for all the reasons I just explained. The number of people who are being infected and are getting sick who are vaccinated has increased every week since June, when Delta became dominant, and now up to 10 to 15% of all infected people are vaccinated. So I would really encourage you to also offer a vaccine continuously at your wonderful buildings to both everybody who works and goes to school there, as well as the community, like you did with CDPH for a while. You need to go back to that, including vaccinating 5 to 11-year-olds when the FDA approves that in the next week or two. I think this is a great opportunity for you to also increase and go back to the way things were and to offer health science careers at all campuses. The idea of consolidating that to Malcolm X is a crime against primarily African Americans and Latinos on the south, southwest, and west side. And that building, when I walked in and gave a lecture a couple of years ago, looked like an airport terminal, and it looked like it not just in design, but the fact that so many people were white, I couldn't believe it. Thank you very much.
Dr. Maria Estrada.
Thank you. Tell me if you can hear me okay, because I'm not taking my mask off. My name is Dr. Jesus Estrada. I'm an English faculty member at Harold Washington College. I'm also the chapter chair of Local 1600 here in the district office. I'm also a mother of 2 small children, ages 5 and 11, who attend CPS that cannot get vaccinated. But I come here before you today, not just advocating for students, union members, and the whole Harold Washington family, but for the communities as well. While there have been some good measures that have been implemented, as you've heard earlier, I want to remind you that we are still living in a pandemic with a deadly virus that is attacking our youth and communities, especially communities of color. You only have to look at the Jensen example. 2 mothers, young mothers, died recently. There were over 60% of the student body that was quarantined. There was no contact tracing, no testing. This is inhumane and terrible. But this is also where students come from. Well, and I think, to me, to all of us, what matters most is safety. Safety of our students, safety of our colleagues. This semester, a lot of professors came back to teach in person, and they were under the impression that there was going to be 6 feet of social distancing and smaller class sizes, and that's not what happened. Classes are overcrowded with 30 or 25 students that can't even distance 2 feet. This is unsafe and puts our students at risk. Besides that, what is more egregious is that professionals and part-time professionals do not get the option to work remotely. And this is what I don't understand. There are part-time tutors that are doing remote work in the building. Give them the option to work remotely, at least a hybrid option so they can do the work remotely at home. This doesn't make any sense to me at all. We now hear that academic departments may offer 25% of the classes remotely in the spring. But where did this number come from? Is this what's going to meet the students' needs? Were they surveyed recently? Or is this going to serve the academic department needs? This semester in this building alone, there have been 6 COVID cases. That's not counting the part-time professionals and professionals that were infected in the past, including a father who took the virus home to 2 infant children and infected the whole family. Those numbers were not included, but they should be. Furthermore, we don't know whether, the air is being circulated, even once a day. The windows don't open. We don't know if the filters are certified medically. And we need to know this, right? I don't want to hear secondhand. I don't want to hear verbal. I want to see evidence that this is what's happening. So I know my union members and my students are safe. Currently, we have 1 contact tracer per college on top of their duties. You do the math. That is not safe. I am actually terrified at what's coming in spring 2022 when there are more bodies in this building. And I don't want you to force us to risk our students' safety or our community members' safety. We should look to the example of the United Teachers of Los Angeles. They have weekly testing, a remote option, temperature checks at the front door, robust contact tracing, and monthly filter changes in each classroom. It is the 2nd largest school district in the country. Our system is much smaller. Why can't we do the same? Why can't we use that COVID money to keep our community and students safe? Together, we can do better. I believe this firmly. We can do better. But again, I urge you, give us the remote option. It's a safe thing to do. It won't be long before we have vaccines for our kids. That's what we demand, and I hope you listen to us. And for the people that are coming into the building to work, give them the highest safety standards. Thank you.
Dan Cutter.
I always tell my students in speech class to never make assumptions about what their audience does and does not know. So I do want to remind people we're in a pandemic. Since the start of September, there have been 19 cases reported on the campus of Malcolm X College, our healthcare college, where I am one of those part-time tutors who has to go into the building to tutor and do work almost entirely remotely. Utilizing the healthcare plan for part-time professionals at city colleges results in nearly premiums of $1,000 to pay every single month, more than half of much of people's paychecks biweekly at city colleges. How are we supposed to pay for healthcare and rent during a pandemic? How many people, if we surveyed all of the tutors or all the other part-time professionals at city colleges, how many would say that they've put off a doctor's visit or a COVID test out of fear of what those results would mean and what their bank accounts would be after going to the hospital? I have, and I'm young and healthy. I can't count the number of my coworkers who live in fear of going to the doctor right now because we don't have good healthcare options. So I would like to highlight 2 of my coworkers from the Academic Support Center at Malcolm X College today, because while I have issues, I think their issues speak to part-time professionals as a whole. First, I want to talk about my coworker, Natalie. Natalie should be retired, but she's not yet. She's closer to 80 than she is to 70. And one of the reasons why she isn't is because she helps take care of her grandchildren, both financially as well as through support. All right? In the summer of last year in 2020, the former director of the Academic Support Center unilaterally cut tutors' hours by 37% in July of 2020 because there was a drop in enrollment for the fall by 37%. She cut our hours 2 months before the fall semester based off of justification of enrollment, with 2 more months to bring those enrollment numbers up. This meant that while Natalie could come to work and smile and give the best tutoring possible she could for students in reading in support of ESL, right? But it means that she couldn't financially support her grandchildren the way that she wanted to anymore. But someone else who I want to talk about is my coworker, Britt. Britt has been with the city colleges for over 7 years. She's one of the most committed educators I know. She's one of the bravest people I know. I left work at Malcolm X early from her baby shower to come here, because she's giving birth in 10 days. And because of the cuts from our previous boss at the Academic Support Center. She fell below the 15 hours on average worked on the calendar year, which took away her benefits as a part-time employee at the city colleges, and she doesn't have maternity leave. Her birthday is in 10 days. How is this happening in the city of Chicago, of the richest country in the history of the world, and we're just allowing these educators, these people who believe so fiercely in the pursuit of public education, to just let them slip through the cracks like this? Something else that I want to say. In the city colleges, part-time professionals have been left behind constantly.
Thank
We
you, Mr.
mentor-
Cutter. Your time is up.
I would like to end with the words from the alderman of the 20th Ward, Jeanette Taylor. Don't give us crumbs and tell us it's cake.
Tony Johnston.
Good afternoon. My name is Tony Johnston, president of Cook County College Teachers Union. We represent full-time faculty, full-time and part-time professionals, and security in the city colleges. It will be impossible for me to match the eloquence and passion of the speakers that came before me, but let me speak to you on the issue of remote student service and instruction in the broader context of a safe reopening in the city colleges. There have been an alarming number of COVID cases, and those have been described, especially here at Harold Washington. We applaud the COVID testing process that is in place, but there are still concerns about proper communication of COVID cases and transparency of contact tracing. While notices go to the individual campuses of COVID cases, they are not shared to all. And this is an issue because many of our members, especially faculty who have to make load by going to other campuses other than their home campus, work at 2 or sometimes more colleges. And so everyone needs to be notified adequately and appropriately of these COVID cases. We should be looking at CPS and the alarming spike in COVID rates in the K through 12 schools with a cautionary eye. The students in CPS are the children of our students and of our faculty and staff, and we know that there will be some sort of contact, some sort of spread. All of this demonstrates that we need to be prepared for living with COVID in the long term, and we need to think strategically about a future pandemic, which experts say is not just a case of if it happens, but when. Our economy and our educational system have been dislocated. Throughout this process, remote instruction, learning, and work has been essential in this emergency situation. And again, I'm glad to hear that there will be those options going forward. But we now realize that remote work is not just essential in an emergency situation. We now realize it has the potential to transform higher education as a work and instruction method. And even more so, this is important in the aftermath of the failed policies of reinvention and the consolidations now referred to as centers of excellence. We are still reeling from the effects of the declining enrollment of students not being able to travel long distances to a city college which is not close to them. We need to work together to ensure that remote instruction and work is made readily available for students and members. And the part-time professional examples that were given are the most vivid and the most difficult to understand. There's no reason that part-time anybody who can work remotely should be forced to go on campus and then work remotely on campus. Remote work and instruction can repair the breach that has been caused by the dislocations of reinvention and the COVID crisis. Faculty and professionals will be entering into negotiations, and we will be making proposals not just on remote work, but others that we think will serve not just our members' needs and working conditions, but will reach out and build bridges to our communities to bring support and development. We need to invest in all of our colleges so that they can adequately meet the needs of our struggling communities. We are going into negotiations and we need a partner, and it's a two-way street, and we look forward to working with you on these issues. Thank you.
Roderick Moyer. Roderick Moyer. That concludes the list of speakers.
Thank you very much for all of the speakers for coming to join us and sharing your perspective. We will thank all the speakers for coming to join us and sharing your perspective. We will now have the Faculty Council report. Professor Spruill, please proceed with your report.
I heard that in the background. Yes, my shoes are shiny. Hello, everyone. Before I get started, I saw a lot of the board members taking notes as my colleagues were presenting, and I imagine how important that was. Some of them didn't have enough time to finish their speeches, so I would, as a courtesy to the board and any others in our community that would like to see the completion of what they had to say, include your written comments as an addendum to my report. So please give those to me or email them to me before the end of today, and I can get those into my report. Thank you so much. Chairman Massey, Board of Trustees, Chancellor Salgado, Provost Potter, officers of the district, faculty, staff, and all others streaming, good afternoon. I'm glad to speak before you today. It feels like we haven't convened in a very long time, but it's only been a month. I'm very surprised by that. Just before this semester began, there was quite a bit of confusion about our expansion of in-person classes and class enrollment caps. Faculty believed then, as we believe now, that to allow for social distancing, the number of students allowed to register for a class should have been lowered. My goal today isn't to speak on the issue of class enrollment sizes, but to consider the process of decision-making and how we show care during this time and communicate that through our actions. FC4's position in this was not one around labor, though labor and contractual concerns did exist and were valid. What we attempted to address at the time was about leadership and relationships. At many of our colleges, the in-person class caps were raised. Mind you, this was after faculty had signed up to teach those courses and students enrolled in them believing that the class sizes would be smaller. For many of the classes, the class caps extended upward of 25 students, which is far too many to socially distance in most of the rooms in our buildings. When local leadership was asked why this was the case, the general answer was that social distancing was no longer a guideline from CDPH and that they were holding firm to the higher class sizes. The issue here is twofold. First, this was not safe. Herding that number of students, faculty, and support service employees into small spaces that they would have been in for hours at a time is not conducive to mitigating virus transmission. While following CDPH guidelines is all well and good, and we in no way want to diminish the work of our district committee, we all recognize that it's the least we can do to keep people safe. It's shameful that bars and restaurants, private businesses, limited occupancy, and in many cases required proof of vaccination for entry, not just testing, while a public entity did the bare minimum to protect those entering their spaces. As I've said before, there are all sorts of things that we don't have to do in life, but we do them because we are cautious and prudent. There's a low rate of crime in my neighborhood. I haven't heard of anyone's home being broken into in the last 7 years that I've lived there. I live on the 3rd floor of a walk-up building in which you have to enter 2 locked doors before you're even in the lobby. Knowing all of this, I'm aware that the chances of my home being broken into are beyond slim. I still lock my doors when I leave. Do I need to? Statistically, I probably do not. But with some sense of assurance, I know that if I left home without locking up, everything would be just as I left it when I came home. I make sure that I lock the doors anyway because it is the prudent thing to do, and I would regret if I became relaxed in my vigilant door locking and my home was broken into. We have to think about the ways in which we guard human life the same way. Certainly, there's data that suggests that if we follow the guidelines, we can reduce chances of transmission. However, leaders, I would hope that you wouldn't be able to forgive yourselves if someone was hospitalized with COVID and it was because we eliminated signage reminding people to wear masks. Or worse, someone died of COVID and it was because we added 5 to 10 too many people in a room when we had the ability and the resources to do otherwise. FC4 has established a COVID response committee, and we have weekly meetings with Provost Potter and Deputy Provost Edwards. And it's been really good to talk through our procedures and policies related to COVID and how we govern our spaces during this time. To date, these meetings have proven to be fruitful, and we have found multiple ways to make improvements, and we've already seen the implementation of some of these things. We are thankful for the increased testing availability and a revisiting of cleaning procedures and providing cleaning supplies to in-person classes and public spaces. We are currently addressing signage in our buildings and protocol around testing and actions related to noncompliance. The process for consequences, as outlined in an email to our college communities and in the presentation made earlier in the committee meeting, isn't sufficient in our opinion. In our government spaces and jobs, unvaccinated individuals are not allowed to enter or work if they do not have recent and regular negative test results. While we understand the need to maintain access and equity, it is unacceptable that unvaccinated individuals who do not have a testing exemption could miss 2 weeks of testing before they get so much as a message reminding them of their responsibility to test and to present those results, and can enter the building up to 4 weeks before their access to our campuses would be denied. I'm certain that even the spirit of the bare minimum guidelines given by CDPH did not intend for a month's worth of recalcitrance before we take serious action. The question is, what should these policies look like? We have been having those conversations. They're not easy, but Dr. Potter and Dr. Edwards and the faculty representatives show up regularly because this is important, and we don't have the option to fail. I'd like to thank that group for committing to ensure the safety of everyone on our campuses. We'd especially like to thank Dr. Potter for taking our concerns to his team and coming back weekly with feedback or revisions to policies. Again, safety was just one of the issues related to holding the lifting of the class sizes, but the second issue focuses on relationships and creating a caring environment. At the time, some of our VPs, in many cases, held class sizes at their pre-COVID sizes, and there was no data that supported inciting the panic that those declarations did. Days before the semester began, the average in-person class size was hovering around 15 students per class. With a few exceptions, that didn't change. This is important because while faculty expressed their very serious concerns about being in a crowded classroom and their leadership didn't budge, there was never any evidence or trends that suggested that those class caps would ever be reached. Essentially, some of our administrators, not all, but some, made a choice to allow their faculty to live in distress in a situation where taking a more strategic approach to this type of decision-making would have alleviated much of this. We can't be engaged in this caring campus initiative and not consider how our leadership and even something that seems as unrelated as enrollment management and the communication of decisions plays into how caring our campuses actually are. Though this is COVID-related, it speaks to a larger problem that exists. First, we've had this conversation before concerning enrollment management. We have it all the time when discussing class closures. The indiscriminate closing of classes is not a healthy practice for our colleges. While we have to consider efficiency, we also have to consider how when students don't have options, they don't come back. That may look like movement to other colleges within our district, but it may also look like the loss of students to other institutions. There are real reasons to run courses at lower numbers and to try to offer courses that haven't been on the schedules frequently. This speaks to a lack of strategy when it comes to thinking about how course offerings play into the health and future of our colleges. While it's not the same as making the difficult decisions around course closure, we have found that the similar lack of strategy is being used to determine the modality of courses for the spring. Faculty are reporting the arbitrary setting of percentages that are being used to create the spring schedule. For example, some colleges are reporting that their admin are requesting that 50% of the classes be in person. Our question is, what supports these decisions? We have found that some of our courses are seeing higher enrollment than ever before in the online live modality. Anecdotally, we are also hearing that many students still have some trepidation about coming back on campus. The same way that we should be taking a strategic approach to course offerings, we need to apply that same to course modalities. The greater issue is that this lack of leadership surrounding these issues. Before delving into this, I want to say that I understand how nuanced this is and that there may be things that I don't understand concerning the logistics, and I don't know them enough to fully comprehend, and that may compromise the accuracy of some of my argument. But as faculty, we have attempted to be thoughtful in these factors when coming to these conclusions. We need our leaders to be accountable for their decisions, and they should be able to explain how they came to the decisions around scheduling and other issues. We are constantly hearing about a multitude of decisions, and the administration's answer is, district said so. We have brought this issue to Dr. Potter, along with others when they arise, and often we find that the decisions we were told by our local admin were out of their control, were completely within their control. Again, I want to be sensitive to the nature of our institutions. We are independently accredited colleges that operate within a district. So sometimes there is a certain need for centralized decision-making. But many of our administrators seem to be unclear about where the decision-making power rests in different situations. We have to be honest. Some of this is a willingness to avoid making tough or controversial decisions. We have among our leadership individuals who prefer to act as supervisors tasked with enforcing the policies set by others. This is problematic for a few reasons. One, our presidents and VPs are charged with leading the colleges with vision. They have to be in tune with the community in which they reside and the populations whom they serve. They have to understand what they do well and how to grow both programs and the institution as a whole. They are paid to do this. So plainly put, it's unacceptable for leaders not to lead. More practically, our accreditation holds us responsible for decision-making in a range of areas, so our leaders, pursuant to our accreditations, have the obligation to be responsible for what happens locally. Some of this is rooted in a belief that faculty are difficult to work with, and it's easier to say that someone else pressed the button. That too is unacceptable, but it is also false. Faculty are not difficult. Certain conversations are difficult. We all come to them with perspectives from our experience, expertise, and goals. They require sensitivity, knowledge, and quite frankly, time. Most things that FC4 addresses with the provost are not easy. We don't often come to consensus early on, but admin and faculty commit themselves to keep coming to the table. In most cases, we reach some agreement. In others, Provost Potter, as the chief academic officer, makes a decision that faculty don't agree with. The difference in what happens at the district level and what we are seeing at some of the colleges is that even if a decision is made that we don't like, we require a logical explanation, and one is provided. And Provost Potter has said this on multiple occasions. He is responsible for the outcome of those decisions. We are clear about who we hold accountable. First, if facilitating difficult conversations is beyond some of our admin, there's an opportunity for professional growth, or perhaps certain individuals shouldn't be in roles that necessitate skills they don't possess. Second, faculty are always held accountable, and there's nothing wrong with accountability if everyone is held accountable. So it only seems rational that if faculty are held accountable, and if Provost Potter says that ultimately the VPs are part of his team, and I imagine the same is true for the chancellor and the presidents, it reasonably follows that the folk that exist between faculty and our district leadership should also be accountable for their actions and decisions. That isn't an outlandish request, but it seems to be one that is ignored in certain instances. To be fair to our local admin, we have to acknowledge that who holds the decision-making power is not always clear. In one situation, it may be a local decision, and in a similar decision, it may be the district. So for the sake of holding individuals accountable, individuals need to know what they are accountable for. The role of the district office in the operation of the colleges is really muddy. What is centralized and what isn't? Where do final decisions lie? Is the role of the district to set goals, to facilitate conversations, to provide general guidance based on best practices, to provide actionable data and response and other helpful decisions to be used in decision making, to aid in local, state, federal, and accreditation-related compliance, and to resource colleges to further their individual goals within the system? Or is the role more big government in style, being very close to all decisions, in many cases, the maker of those decisions? I'm unsure, because there is no logic that I can tell that would constantly determine who holds what levers. I imagine that makes it somewhat difficult for our leaders to lead, but it also gives leaders who aren't interested in leading a scapegoat. None of this is meant to be punitive, but we both have to establish what our expectation of our leadership is and give them the opportunity to rise to it. And we have to have a mechanism to ensure that we all know our roles and responsibility and we can hold ourselves accountable. Very briefly, FC4 is engaged in some really rich conversations surrounding this issue with the provost, which he said he would take to his team. We are also thinking about the many ways in which we can create avenues for faculty and admin to work collaboratively on these issues, like hiring committees, and the use of GPA in placement. At this moment, those conversations are in progress. I'll end by framing our concerns about leadership and difficult decisions and faculty involvement in decision-making with much of the work that FC4 and district leadership is engaging in with the GPA work. We have to learn to disagree and commit. If unfamiliar, this is a leadership principle that posits that once a decision is made, that we commit to it. For faculty, this is generally how we've always had to operate, as in many of the decisions are made outside of us. I want us to consider how our process of decision-making could be more collaborative and inclusive. To some extent, we are working toward that, and we have occasionally seen where our admin has deferred to the faculty expertise despite holding a different view. So it can happen, but it has to work both ways. But we also have to trust each other to do this. The practice of disagreeing and committing can't be about winning and losing. In our context, it isn't a flipping of coins when we get to irreconcilable positions. Instead, it must highlight an overall commitment to our institution and to those whom we serve over our differences. The heart of this values unity and requires all of us to divorce ourselves from our ideas and positions and identities to support the other when we don't agree with their point of view. When a decision isn't made in our favor, we have to want the decision to still be successful. Similarly, our admin has to want the same for positions we hold, because it's not about us. We have to want the institutions to win so deeply that we decide not to compete with each other. And none of this masks that we disagree, nor does it diminish the value or validity of any of our opinions and perspectives. But it does call us to know when we need to put our convictions aside and work with, not against each other. I may be naive in this belief, but I truly think that we can do this in all things, and that we are incrementally moving toward it. It's the ongoing work of and commitment to shared governance. While much of what I've had to report today may have been difficult to stomach, it comes from a genuine desire for the City Colleges to be its absolute best. We are a beautiful institution with a beautiful mission, and we all have work to do, and we are worth the work. If there are no comments or questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Professor Brooke. And now we will, Vice Chancellor Collins, I believe, will have a presentation or lead a presentation.
For the presentation. It's a presentation. Right here. Oh, it's right here. Okay. All right. Good afternoon, everyone, Chancellor, Board. Let me take this off so you can hear me. Public. So it's a little gloomy day outside, but it's actually a beautiful day for me. It's a day that I get to talk about the Fresh Start program, which is a program that I believe fully embodies the community college mission of access, equity, and opportunity to get a quality education. So you're going to hear a little bit about me today, talking about the Fresh Start program and some evidence of its impact, but more importantly, we have a panel here you're going to hear more from of 4 students who avail themselves of the program and get the best evidence possible. Student voice. We're going to hear them talk about who they are, why they came to the Fresh Start program, and how it has impacted their life. And we're going to hear from it in their words, in their own way. So the Fresh Start program is one of our strategic initiatives from our Unified Strategic Plan, where we wanted to offer this program to students, monitor it, see what's working, and to figure out if we could refine it. And it's really proven to be a really great program that is paying dividends in students' lives, and it will continue to pay dividends throughout the rest of their lives. It is opening the door to educational opportunity, financial empowerment, and economic mobility to students who came to us some time ago and had to pause their education and found that debt was the barrier to them coming back to City Colleges of Chicago. So just a little bit about the program. We launched it in fall of 2020.
The eligibility criteria is that if you came to City Colleges within the last 10 years, so from 2010 to date of the start of the program, and you left in good academic standing and had some debt, you could come back to City Colleges. And your debt would be forgiven as a student as you progress. So 50% of your debt would be waived within the first semester if you have good academic standing, and the remaining 50% would be forgiven upon completion of your program. And if you were a student who only had one term, you would get your 100% of your debt waived within that first semester. The supports that we provided were academic supports, students coming back, needing that academic support as they re-energize their educational journey with us. And we also partner with Working Credit, a nonprofit organization, to give them that one-on-one support to help them with their financial situation. So, by way of data, just to give you an overview of what the population looked like that Fresh Start served, 88% of students served by Fresh Start to date are Black or Latinx, 70% are women. You can see there's a wide distribution across all of the 7 colleges. More than half are aged 22 to 29, and most of the students, 69%, have been enrolling on a part-time basis. So if you look at a chart, most of the students are taking 2 classes at about 6 credits or 3 classes, 9, 10 credits. In terms of outcomes, we're seeing that overall as a district, we're retaining students from fall to spring at a rate of 62%. And when you look at that comparatively to other similar population of stop out, so students who left City Colleges for at least 1 full academic year or more, that's generally trending at about 52%. And in this program, in its first year of implementation, beat that out by 10 percentage points. And we also see at Truman, their fall to spring retention rate exceeded even our normal retention rate of 68.5%. They achieved a retention rate from fall to spring of 70%. So those are really great outcomes. We also saw that 118 students completed their academic program and earned an advanced certificate or base certificate or associate's degree within those 2 terms. So that is 12% of the population who enrolled in a Fresh Start program. And again, some really great outcomes at Truman with 20% of their Fresh Start students completing within that first year. We look at the completer demographics. We are also seeing 80% of the completers of the program are Black or Latinx, 64% are women, and 62% are those adult learners aged 25 to 39. In terms of financial outcomes, we saw 350 students had 50% of their debt waived, and 105 have already had 100% of their debt waived for a total of $318,000 in debt waived, allowing students to come back and continue their career and academic journey here at City Colleges. One of the most salient features that students talked about was the financial empowerment support. This is one of the key benefits of the program, where we partner students up with Working Credit, and they got access to a 45-minute online workshop on credit building, and then they really got that intensive one-on-one credit building support, where they worked one-on-one with a counselor, where they looked through their credit scores, talked about their financial goals, their financial situation, and any ongoing support that they needed through that partnership with Working Credit. And we saw some really tremendous outcomes also reported by the Working Credit Group. So you have 3 key metrics here that they measure that we really excelled with. So the first row you see are students with what is called a prime credit score, a credit score above 660. So at the start of the program, within 6 months, 22% of enrollees had a credit score above 660. And by the end of that 6 months, that jumped 15 percentage points to 37%. We also saw 31% with at least $1,000 in available credit at the start of the program. Then within 6 months, that number jumped again 14 percentage points to 45%. And then we also saw with credit utilization, making sure utilization rates are low. One of their metrics, we saw that 25% had credit utilization below 25%, and that number increased again of 15 percentage points up to 40 in 6 months. So we're seeing tremendous impact with this program in just 1 year's time in terms of academics, keeping students retained, getting them to their credential, and also, again, these are the dividends that are going to pay out for the rest of their life. So that transitions me to give most of the time here to talk to our 4 students here. We have, so they're out of order from the picture here, the name we have here. So we have Abner, who'll be up first. Then we have Stephen, forgetting your name, Tamika, and Miriam. So I'm gonna ask each of you to tell me a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself to the board, to the public here, talk about what brought you to the Fresh Start program and how it has impacted your life.
Hi, my name is Abner Gutierrez Herrera. The process of me getting to this point started when I went to JJC and I enrolled there, and the systems I had in place had me listed as an international student, which put me at out of district tuition. And the person I have to thank for advocating for me and others like me, because I'm a DACA recipient, is Michelle Roman Garcia. She is the director of the Multicultural Student Affairs Office. She pushed to, essentially I was a guinea pig for the issues that I found myself in right after DACA, because this was in 2013, a year after the program was in place. And there was a lot of people like me who felt that they were disillusioned and they couldn't get the help that they needed to pursue school. So she's my #1 person to get me started on this path. After I left JJC to move to the city, I went to CCC over in Daly College, and the person to essentially help me find my voice to not only fight for others like me, but also create a resource center at the Daly College, the Document Resource Center, and I co-sponsored the Undocumented Students and Allies Club, was Jose Torres, which he's now over at Malcolm X. And without his support in this, the networks that he connected me with, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish that task, to create more resources and more ability for others like me to start or even continue school. And then lastly, the person I have to thank for getting me into UIC, which I'm currently at after graduating from the Fresh Start program this past summer, is Tanya Cabrera. And she is she's a long title, the Assistant Vice Provost for Student Inclusion over at UIC. And she has advocated for me and others like me for, I don't even know if this woman does it in her sleep as well, but the reasons that I ended up here were not so much the debt that I incurred, but the lack of access to resources that I could have. When I got here at CCC, I started off as a Lyft driver because I liked the flexibility of going to school and working at the same time, although I didn't really plan on incurring the significant debt that I had because of the inherent structure of Lyft and the expenses that come with it. So I left school on good terms because I couldn't afford to go back. So I had to take a full-time job, and either I commit to completing my college degree with little resources or no resources at all, or go to work. So once I got some money, once I paid off some of my debts that I incurred while working as a rideshare driver, the day before I was going to pay off what I owed, which was less than $1,000, but that like $800 was keeping me from finishing off the last half of my degree. I was in a conversation with the business office, and they said, "Oh yeah, by the way, keep out on the news. Keep an eye out on the news tomorrow, because I know we're talking about having you pay off this debt, but just keep an eye out." They wouldn't tell me what it was, but they said just make sure you keep an eye out for this. And the next day, that's when I heard that the Fresh Start program was in place, and I was able to use that money that I was going to otherwise pay for my debt to go in towards one of my semesters, or at least most of my books that I was responsible for completing it. And without that, it was like my final hurdle that I had to get to. I had gone through all the process of paying off my debt, paying off, saving up what I could to ensure that I could commit as many hours as I could to school. But that final hurdle with the Fresh Start program really finally got me in the door, and I finished 2 semesters this fall 2020 and spring 2021, and now I'm at UAC because of it. Not just because of this, but because of this resource. Someone else can benefit greater than I did, despite I still benefited from it. But on the final note, though, the issue that I have right now is that I still have those holds on my account for the Fresh Start. So I almost missed the deadline on Tuesday to give my final transcripts to UIC without incurring a hold on them. But yeah, I know some hiccups, but otherwise the program does what it aims to do, is help us get into school and finish.
We're going down the line. Just go ahead.
Go down the line.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven Baena. I was a student at Truman College. I'm from East Rogers Park, and like, I guess like a lot of kids, you know, in Chicago, I try to go to college because it's what you're supposed to do, you know, when you're fresh out of high school and you're trying to kind of make something out of yourself. Was never really sure what I kind of wanted to study. I was always told that I had to pick something that would make money. I don't like things that make money, so it was really tough for me, you know, having to hear everybody else's expectations and not get to kind of pursue the things that I wanted. So, you know, working full-time, going to school full-time as an 18-year-old in Chicago, it's tough. It's just, even if you don't have any other responsibilities, like just being from a low-income neighborhood, having immigrant parents, you have to basically navigate life on your own. And at that age, it's really hard to decide, you know, I want to better my future because you're so focused on right now, on, you know, paying your rent as basically a kid, supporting parents that have trouble supporting themselves, just all around, you know, just the family pressures and then pressures from society and then your own pressures. It was really overwhelming. So I honestly decided that school just was not for me. And it came at a time where I was deciding that a lot of things just were not for me. And a lot of that was economic mobility. You know, I figured I was born into a family that just was not in a particular position to kind of better themselves. And so that brought on a bunch of mental health issues, obviously, that run maybe in the family. And because of that, you know, kept digging myself into a deeper hole. And school was always something I was good at. It's always something I was exceptionally good at, but it's not something I liked or was encouraged or had the discipline for at all. I didn't understand, you know, personal responsibility. There's a whole bunch of things that I just never got to learn because of where I come from and the situation. Yeah, having to go through all that and deciding, you know what, that I was tired of not just being a college dropout, not just not having education, but just being a victim. I was tired of my circumstances defining me, and I kind of wanted a change. And I started, you know, making progress in a lot of different aspects of my life. I had started cleaning up a lot of messes that I made, and college was just something that I was like, you know, was not an attainable reality for me. I figured, you know, I looked at college students and figured that that was who college was for. I looked at other professions and figured, you know, that's a world that was just not for me. And it wasn't for me as well as for a lot of the people in my life, you know, where I just came from. People didn't make it out the way we see other people making it out, I guess. And so, yeah, I kind of just figured college was something that I didn't have the financial independence for. I didn't have the leeway to prioritize my education over, you know, my immediate needs or my immediate financial requirements. But again, I started making all this progress, and I figured, you know, something had to give. And I started thinking about college, started thinking about going back. Figured my debt wasn't too big, but again, when you're poor, it's really hard to make any room for unexpected expenses, let alone things to better your future for. And then the program came along, and it seemed really, really specifically catered to me, you know, somebody who had accumulated debt, who wanted a second chance, who thrives off second chances, but just has trouble finding a break. And I found out about it really late. The deadline was like the next day, the day after that. So honestly, it came at a time where it was either, you know, I commit to my decisions of progressing, or I continue to just try to look for breaks. And I mean, it was an easy decision because I was committed to, you know, becoming different, trying to do better, trying to set an example for others. but I did not expect it to go as well as it did. The fact that the pandemic hit was really tough. I had to study remotely, which honestly ended up helping me because I'm not someone who likes to show up to school. So all of that kind of propelled me. I got to meet a whole bunch of counselors who would help me along the way, and asking for help is something that I was terrible at. And now I understand. I don't mind asking for help because I know what I can do with the help. And so it was just an overall, it was an overall opportunity to progress, I guess, in terms of education. But it was a huge self-esteem boost. It was a huge opportunity for me to kind of see what the attainable realities are for not just me, but for someone who comes from where I come from, someone who has friends who feel like they were stuck in the same position, and now, understand the whole process of signing up for college, who understand taking out student loans, who understand filling out FAFSA forms, things like that, first generation immigrant students have to navigate all by themselves. And I think, establishing a place where the resources are not just there, but they're encouraged, and as a second chance, it's very comfortable for me to be like, okay, I'm not in this alone. There's several other people who've been through not similar situations, but are under similar circumstances, and are committed to also coming out on top. And one of the things that helped me tremendously from the program was the credit aspect of it. I was somebody that had no idea how credit worked. I didn't know what, a credit line was. I was somebody who had accumulated credit through like hospital visits and things like that. So my credit was all types of messed up. But through the program, I've managed to clear it up. Have a pretty decent credit score. I have, a credit line that honestly even my parents don't understand how it works. But it's inspiring because I have a little sister who gets to figure it all out, without having the trial and error thing that I had to do, without having to correct the mistakes that I didn't know I was making. So now, I guess we're here. I get to go to UIC in January, and that's something, again, that was completely unattainable. Paying $12,000 to go to school is not something that I would ever consider. But now it's something that I not only consider, but, I'm looking past. And I'm trying to make grad school attainable and have set ambitions that I never thought I would be able to have. I thought I was always going to be working and trying to maintain, and it doesn't really have to be anymore. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Tamika?
So I'm a single parent. I'm a single mom. Both my parents don't have high school or college degrees. My mother actually had a GED. For me, the Fresh Start program was to finish what I started. I'm the oldest of four, and I have a 13-year-old daughter. And when I first started going to Harold Washington, I would bring her with me as I took my classes. I'm the only one that is the sole provider and support for my child. I don't have a lot of resources. I don't have the help that I would like to have. And some of that is probably some of my fault as well. Independence is like a disability sometimes. You don't always want to ask for help. So the Fresh Start program is help that I didn't have to ask for. It helped me. I had a debt that I couldn't pay. I'm living off of one income, and that income is very fixed. And honestly, this was, for me, getting my degree will increase my income. It will support me and support my child. And I also want my child to see me as a mother who has tried and kept going whenever my back was up against the corner. I'm still trying to do it and keep it going. I don't want her to quit, and I don't want her not to see me quit. So finishing what I started is exactly why the Fresh Start has been the best thing that has happened to me. She has saw me do my classes online remotely during the COVID, and she was right next to me doing her classes. And she even sees me, I have a class after when she gets off of school, picking her up, having to go and enroll into my class. I want her to see that you just have to keep going, and it might be hard and you might have to be tired and exhausted, but to keep going to accomplish what you need to do for yourself and your family. And I love her with all my heart, and I want her to excel, and I want her to not give up on herself. And so that's why the Fresh Start program was amazing for me, because I'm not going to quit until I get what I want.
Thank you. I want to make space for Miriam, but just remind everybody what your name is. Your story is important, but you skipped your name, so just remind
I'm sorry,
everybody.
Tamika.
There you go. All right. Miriam.
My name is Mariam Muhammad. The Fresh Start program for me, first off, I heard about it through my husband, who saw the mayor making an announcement at a press conference. And he told me about it. When I called the city colleges, it was almost like a kept secret. Like, it was kind of hard to get the information at first. But eventually, I was able to get it. But the timing was perfect when I did get the information. The timing was absolutely perfect. I have been already in the process of applying to different colleges, but the one that really stood out for me was National University. And they hung in there with me literally for over a year while I was trying to figure out, how am I going to pay off my debt? How am I going to take these last 3 classes? And the Fresh Start program came right at the perfect time. I let National know that this is what was going on, and they were able to get my transcripts right away. It was no issue with my debt being paid or anything. And when that happened, once I took my last 3 classes, I'm now at National University. Due to my science classes at Malcolm X, the grades that I earned, I was able to now qualify for a double major. So I am in pre-med school and majored in biomedical sciences and nutrition, and from there we'll go into naturopathic medicine. But I literally did have a beautiful experience with my science classes at Malcolm X. So I didn't want to give up because of the encouragement that I had from my professors, because of my children looking at me and how important it is to show your children that when you start, you should finish. Mm-hmm. So, you have to represent what you preach. So the Fresh Start program for me really was a blessing for my family in so many different ways, in increasing principles in your household, as well as reaching your goals and your dreams. And the credit portion for me, that one, at first, it was a little offensive in the beginning, because it was like, because I couldn't pay my debt, does that mean I have bad credit? So, because it was a requirement to take it. So, but when I actually took advantage of it, it wasn't the credit part for me. It was the savings part for me. They really gave a lot of encouragement with saving and giving the importance. And the reminder was there, because I always, like, my dad was really big on savings. Not really my mother. My mother was like a spender, but she was big on the credit side. But it helped me with different principles, not just for myself, but what I could also pass on to my children. And then, of course, I'm sure my husband would thank the program that I started studying. But it truly was great. It was really great. And I have to be honest, when we were sitting over there, like in the beginning, I really thought we were in the wrong meeting. But I did. So I wanted to say something to kind of bring the energy back up. I know how important that is in meetings like this, because it was a little heavy in the beginning, of course, due to the pandemic. So, but I'm very grateful, very, very grateful for the Fresh Start program. And I hope it stays around, because I know there's a lot of people that can benefit from it. Very much so.
That concludes. Thank you all. So thanks, Abner, Stephen, Tamika, Marianne, for sharing your story. Hopefully you all learned something about how impactful this program is at City Colleges is leading. So
we did. Wait, I have a comment.
Sure.
I'm sure everybody feels the same way. This is fantastic. And I know our meetings are recorded, right? Isn't all, is there some way we can access this later if we wanted to and refer it to people who might not be here today?
I believe so. Yes, we can.
Okay, would you make sure all the board members know how to do that?
Okay, I will.
This is just fantastic. Thank all of you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair Massey.
And just before they go, I want to add to the thanks that Chair Massey gave, because I know you're getting ready to go, but I really want to add to the thanks. You know, I had the chance to be with you all on one other occasion in this very same room. And it was you and several others, right? And you came then as you came today, you know, as you come every day to city colleges. And you know, we understood when we created this program, right, that you were out there, right, and that we had to be present. But let it be very clear, you know, the effort that you have to put in, right, on your end, is the biggest part here. So on behalf of City College, I want to thank you for putting in all that effort on your part.
Okay, we will now have the report of, is that right? Yes, of our Finance and Administrative Committee. That's on yet. But Trustee Williams, would you please give your report?
Thank you, Chair Massey. Earlier this afternoon, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met. The primary presentations and topics of discussion were the proposed telework policy and the Governor's Executive Order number 87 regarding COVID-19. I would note that today's presentation capped a series of steps taken to ensure that we are following the guidelines of the Governor's Executive Order number 87 regarding COVID-19. Provost Potter and Chief Talent Officer Dunning presented a proposed telework policy. The policy has 3 categories of eligibility. 1, remote positions, 2, for course modality positions, and 3, for non-bargain for exempt positions. The telework policy will allow the City Colleges of Chicago to continue certain remote innovations that are beneficial to student access that were developed during the stay-at-home period of the pandemic, and promote efficiencies while sustaining the recruitment and retention of a qualified and experienced workforce that will better able the City Colleges of Chicago to deliver its student-centered initiatives. During the meeting, Chief Financial Officer Rodriguez also gave an overview of how her funds were dispersed to students. That concludes my Financial Committee report. I would like to add, if you don't mind, indulge me to report on the City Colleges of Chicago Foundation activities. Chair Rozier presented the board nominations committee slate, and the committee approved, or the board approved, 2 new foundation board members, Monica L. Bibbs and Norma Manjarres. Monica is an alum of Daly College. She's coming full circle. She is now the strategic sourcing director for Illinois Toolworks, Inc. Norma is an attorney in the Chicago office of Ogletree, Deakins, Nash, Smoke, and Stewart, PC. The foundation board will continue to evaluate adding new members. We also want to thank Director Iris Krieg for her years of service to the foundation board. She will be cycling off in December after many years of concurrent service. The foundation closed fiscal year 21 with over $21 million in assets, which includes the $5 million gift from Kennedy King, to Kennedy King from Ms. Mackenzie Scott, and many other significant contributions at the 6- and 7-figure level in support of the work being implemented across the district and at the colleges. Performance of the investment portfolio continued to be very strong through the end of the fiscal year and has exceeded its benchmark returns. Other highlights of significant philanthropy and opportunity for the foundation include 7 of 14 City College of Chicago students have been awarded a full scholarship, stipend, and other supports through the Chicago Scholarship Fund, a $5 million investment by Ted Koenig of Monroe Capital, and in partnership with Chicago State University, the Chicago Urban League, and College Possible. Chancellor Salgado and Dr. Maurice Swinney, Chief Equity Officer at Chicago Public Schools, have been invited to co-present the Chicago Roadmap at the Grant Makers in Education Conference, which will put the initiative in front of national foundations and program officers from across the country. The foundation board also received a presentation about a new initiative that explores a long-range opportunity to provide digital literacy programming, laptops, and connectivity to City Colleges of Chicago students. You will note in the resource development report proposals pending in support of this work. As the end of 2021 approaches, there will be several opportunities to contribute to the foundation starting November 30th with Giving Tuesday through the end of the calendar year. As an editorial, there's nothing to stop us from donating before November 30th. We encourage the community at large to consider supporting the City Colleges of Chicago students in their year-end giving. The City Colleges of Chicago Foundation is forging ahead with truly exciting work and is actively raising funds. This makes us very excited as a board. I also want to congratulate Vice Chancellor Rhonda Brown for her work and her team's work. They have done fabulous work during the time that I've been on the board. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Williams, for both those committee reports. We will now proceed to consider items on October 7th, 2021 consent agenda. The substantive details have been posted on the board website, consistent with our practice. We will now proceed to consider the items on the consent agenda. This month, all items for board action are on that agenda. And we usually print that on the, printed on the paper that you could have picked up outside the room. I would note again for the record that these items were discussed in detail, as you've heard, in the committee meeting immediately preceding the board meeting. Resolutions 1.06 and 1.07 were discussed but will be voted on after the closed session. At this time, does any trustee have any questions or comments on any of the other items listed on the consent agenda, or does any trustee wish to have separate action on any of those items? No? Okay, may I have a motion then to approve the resolutions, the personnel report, resource development report, and the various agreements, purchases, and legal invoices contained in the consent agenda and identified as part of the printed agenda on a single roll call vote, and reminding us we are excluding 1.06 and 1.07.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Chief Advisor, will you call the roll?
Chair Massey,
Yes.
Trustee Swanson,
Approved.
Secretary Davis,
Approved.
Trustee Kent. Approved. Trustee Williams,
Approved.
Trustee Fazal Hold,
Approved.
Trustee Tillman,
Approved.
Trustee Lopez,
Approved.
Is that all?
okay, that's all of them.
Okay. It's been approved. So thank you. Let the record show that the resolutions, the personnel report, the resource development report, the agreements, purchases, and legal invoices included on the printed October 7, 2021 consent agenda, excluding resolutions 1.06 and 1.07, have all been approved. So, in accordance with the Illinois Open Meetings Act, the board may hold a closed session for the discussion of matters related to a number of specified topics. Today's closed session will be for the discussion of matters related to 262 collective negotiating matters between the public body, that's us, and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. May I have a motion to go into closed session with a roll call vote? May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And moved and seconded, Chief Advisor, please call the roll.
Chair Massey,
Up-
Vice Chair Swanson,
Approved.
Secretary Davis,
Approved.
Trustee Kent. Approved. Trustee Williams,
Approved.
Trustee Tillman,
Approved.
Trustee Lopez,
Approved.
Trustee Basil
Approved.
and, Trustee Kent, did I call you? Trustee Kent. Okay, thank you. That completes.
Let the record show that the closed session motion has been approved, so, and we will return. Thank you.
No. Oh, yes, we are, yes. No, because I got Zoom. I gotta come in on Zoom. Oh, okay. Hi, this is Bonnie. Make sure, hey, hi, how are you doing? Make sure you hang up. Yeah, make.
Here. A little discipline.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Got a little move on there. So maybe come to order, please. Yes. Yeah. So the October 7th, 2021, if the presidents will quiet down over there, regular meeting of the board is now reconvened. There was no action during the closed session. But now we do have two motions to consider, so I'd like a motion to approve Resolution 1.06, which is the collective bargaining agreement between the Board of Trustees of Community College number 508, that's us, and the Service Employees International Union number 73 AFL-CIO. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Phillips, please call the roll.
We have to have general counsel. Will you read the resolution? Or you don't need to? Okay, that'll be okay. Okay. Chair Massey,
Approved.
Vice Chair Swanson,
Approved.
Secretary Davis,
Approved.
Trustee Kent. Approve. Trustee Williams,
Approved.
Trustee Fazelholg,
Approved.
Trustee Tillman, Trustee Lopez. Approved. Trustee Tillman. Okay,
Okay, we have a quorum without that.
Yes.
Okay,
we do.
so the motion is passed. Now I'd like to have a motion to approve Resolution 1.07, which is the collective bargaining agreement between the Board of Trustees of Community College District number 508 and the City College's Contingent Labor Organizing Committee, IEA-NEA. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Phillips, please call the roll.
Chair Massey,
Approved.
Vice Chair Swanson,
Approved.
Secretary Davis,
Approved.
Trustee Kent. Approve. Trustee Williams,
Approved.
Trustee Fazelholg,
Approved.
Trustee Tillman, Trustee Lopez. Approved. Okay, we have a quorum.
So the motion is Resolution 1.07 is approved. Thank you, trustees. There being no further business to come before the board, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Good. Any nays? Thank you. Thanks for a very productive meeting. Okay.